Rage. Sing, goddess, the rage of Peleus' son Achilles. That destructive rage. The rage that placed 10,000 pains upon the Achaeans, that sent many strong souls of heroes down to Hades, left their bodies as spoils for the dogs and all the birds. So the will of Zeus was accomplished. It all started when two men came into conflict against one another. Agamemnon, son of Atreus, lord of men, and marvelous Achilles. Now, who was it among the gods that first set these two in conflict against one another? It was Apollo, the son of Leto and of Zeus. Apollo was pissed at King Agamemnon, and he sent a terrible plague along the army and killed the people. He was pissed because Agamemnon dishonored Apollo's priest, Chryseis. Everyone still with me? Okay, Chryseis came beside the swift ships of the Achaeans. He was begging for his daughter. The Achaeans had taken her when they first sacked the city of Thebes. And he begged for his daughter, and he carried with him countless gifts as ransom. He had in his hand the ribbons of the god. They were on top of a golden staff. And he begged all of the Achaeans, but especially the two sons of Atreus, Agamemnon and Menelaus, because these were the two who put the people in order. Sons of Atreus, Agamemnon and Menelaus, and all you other Achaeans with your great hair, I myself hope that the gods who hold their homes on Olympus grant it to you to sack Priam City, to sack Troy, and to make it home again. But please, give me back my daughter, accept these shining gifts, and show that you respect the god, the son of Zeus, the far shooter Apollo. All of the other Achaeans shouted out in approval at this, to respect the priest, to accept the shining gifts. But this was not pleasing to the heart of Agamemnon. No. Agamemnon sent the old man away again, and he was harsh about it. Old man, I don't want to catch you by my hollow ships, not lingering now, not coming back again later. You should know that those ribbons of the god you have on that golden staff, they're no good here. I'm not going to give her back. Not until old age comes upon her in my house in Argos, far from her father, where she will work my loom and keep me company in my bed. So go. And you better go quick if you want to stay safe. That's what he said. And the old man was afraid, and he listened, and he went silently all along the shore of the crashing sea until he got far enough away that he prayed to the far shooter Apollo, whom Leto with the good hair had bore. Hear me, silver archer, you who straddle Chryseis and who rule Calchas and holy Tenedos with strength, Sminthian lord. If ever I did you a favor, if ever I put a new roof on your temple, if ever I burnt the fat thighs of bulls and goats, grant me this, pay back the Danaans for my tears with your arrows. That's what he said. The old man when he prayed, and Phoebus Apollo heard him. Apollo came down from Mount Olympus. He had his bow and his quiver on his back. He was so pissed off in his heart. The arrows clanged against his shoulders as he moved. He was raging. And he set up above the ships, and he let loose his arrows. And the piercing missiles of the gods, first they fell on the mules, and then on the white dogs, and then on the men themselves, so that the close-set funeral pyres burned always. For 9 days, the gods' arrows fell upon the wide army of the Achaeans. But on the 10th day, Achilles called the men to assembly. Now, it was the white-armed goddess Hera who had put the idea in his head, because Hera actually loved the Danaans. And the Danaans is another way to talk about the Achaeans and the Argives. They're all Greeks, okay? She didn't want to see them die. So, when all of the people were assembled, Achilles, swift-footed, stood up amongst them and addressed them. Son of Atreus Agamemnon, I think now the Achaeans are so stricken that we better get out of here right away if we want to escape death. I mean, right now, kiss the house. Both the plague and war beat down the Achaeans, so come on. Let's call some priest or some seer or some dream reader, because we all know, right, that dreams come from Zeus. Someone who can tell us why the far shooter Apollo is so pissed off at us. I mean, did we mess up some vow or some hecatomb? A hecatomb is 100 sacrifices, right? Maybe we miscounted. And let's see if there's any way that we might appease him, either sacrificing lambs or perfect goats, if he somehow might be appeased and protect us from this shameful destruction. And now the next man to stand up was Calchas. Calchas was the son of Nestor. He was actually a bird reader, the best of the bird readers. And he was the one who had led the ships of the Achaeans to Troy by his bird sight that Phoebus Apollo gave him. And now Calchas stood up, and he had every good intention, and he said, Achilles, dear to Zeus, you are godlike, and you have urged me to tell you whatever divine knowledge it is that I have. But please, think about me and swear to me this, that you will protect me in both word and deed, because I'm about to piss off somebody who now rules all the Argives, and all the Achaeans listen to him. You know, a king, he is even more powerful when he's angry with a lesser man. Even if he swallows down his anger on the day, he can keep it in his chest until it comes to fruition. So please, tell me, will you keep me safe? And now swift-footed Achilles answered him and said, buck up! Tell us whatever God-given knowledge you know about why Phoebus Apollo is so pissed, and I will swear to you, by Phoebus Apollo, by the one who has granted it to you to have the God-given knowledge to reveal to all the Achaeans, that as long as I'm alive, as long as I am taking breath beside the hollow ships, I will not let any man lay a heavy hand upon you. Not even if you mean Agamemnon, who now rules all the Argives and claims to be the best of the Achaeans by far. That's what he said. And now Calchas the seer bucked up, and he said to all of them, well, it's not because of some vow or some hecatomb, we got all 100. It's because of Agamemnon. Not that good at this game. He dishonored Apollo's priest Chryseis when he would not accept the shining gifts to give back the daughter. So now that's why Apollo has placed these pains upon us, and he will continue to give us these pains. He will not protect the Danaans from shameful destruction until we give the glancing-eyed girl back. Nope, bullshit. And then we will also have to take a whole nother hecatomb to the Lord, to Chryseis, and then we will see if Apollo will be appeased and listen to us. So now, amongst them, wide-ruling, powerful Agamemnon stood up. And he was Agamemnon, right? This is a kind of grievous rage. It's actively going on. His guts are filling up with the black anger, and his two eyes are flashing like fire. And he looks most of all at Calchas, And he says, "You seer of evils! You have never prophesied anything good. You have never said anything good. You have never done anything good. And now, this is the God-given knowledge that you announce to everyone that this is the reason the far shooter gives us pains, because I wouldn't give back the girl. Because I want to have her in my own house. Because she's in no way worse than my own wedded wife, Clytemnestra. I mean, her body is at least as good. And she is just as good-natured, and she's probably smarter. And I love her work. But, if everyone thinks it's better, I will give her back, because, you know, I don't want the people to die. I want to save everybody. Just know this. You all better make another prize ready for me, because I am not about to be the only one who goes without a prize. You know that's not right, especially when you all see my prize go somewhere else." That's what he said. And I have to make a note here that every time I say prize, I'm actually talking about an enslaved woman. This is the shit world that we're in. And then swift-footed Achilles said to him, "Well, son of Atreus, lordliest, most in love with acquisition, how are the sons of the Achaeans supposed to give you another prize? I don't know of any pile of prizes just laying around. You know, once we sack the city, everything has been divvied up. So, what's not right is you, a king, giving everything out and then asking for it all back again. No. Give this girl back to the god, and I promise you that if Zeus grants it to us to sack the well-settled city of Troy, that we will pay you back 3 or 4 times as much." That's what he said. And Agamemnon answered and said, "You know, Achilles, good as you are not going to get one past me. You are not going to deceive me. You're not going to persuade me. You just want to sit there with your prize while I go without? No. The great-hearted sons of the Achaeans should give me a prize at least as dear to my heart as she was. And if they don't, then I will come to one of your tents, either Ajax's or Odysseus's, or even yours. And whoever's tent I have to come to, they will have a reason to be pissed off. But come on, we'll talk about all this later. Right now, draw a black ship into the salt sea, put the best rowers on it, get the whole hecatomb on there for the Lord. Chryseis, sweet-cheeked, put her on there too. And let there be someone in charge of this expedition who has some good sense, whether it's Ajax or Idomeneus or marvelous Odysseus or even you, Achilles. They're the most violent of all men. Let's get this done. Let's make these sacrifices and see if the Lord will be appeased." That's what he said. And now swift-footed Achilles answered him, "Oh, shamelessness, you who wear your profiteering like a cloak. How can any Achaean be persuaded now to follow you or to fight for you in battle? I myself did not come here to fight because of the Trojan spearmen. They've never done anything wrong to me. They've never stolen my cows or my horses. They've never destroyed my crops in Phthia, in my country, where there is much fertile land that feeds men between the shadowy mountains and the sounding sea. No. It was for you, O great shamelessness, for your favor, for you and Menelaus, you dog-eyed. That's why I came to Troy. And you don't care. You don't respect that at all. And now you threaten to take my prize, whom I worked hard for, and whom the sons of the Achaeans gave me. I never have an equal prize to yours when we sack some well-settled citadel of the Trojans, not even though most of the fighting falls to my hands, no. You always get the best prize by far, and I get some small but dear thing to take back with me to my ships, even though I'm worn out with fighting. So now I think it's better to go back to Phthia, back home with my beaked ships. I do not intend to sit here watching you heap up your wealth and riches while I'm dishonored. That's what he said. And wide-ruling Agamemnon now answered him and said, yeah, go. I'm not going to try to stop you. I'm not going to beg you to stay here for me. There are plenty of other Achaeans who will honor me, especially Zeus, and he's a genius. You are the most hateful to me of all of the god-bred kings. All you ever love is conflict and wars and battles. I mean, even if you are strong, it's only because the gods made you that way. So go. Go back to Phthia. Take your companions. Take your ships. Rule the Myrmidons. I really just don't care. And I don't even care that you're pissed. But I'm going to tell you this thing, and I think it'll be a thing accomplished. I will come, since Phoebus Apollo takes my girl, the sweet-cheeked Chryseis, and, you know, I'm sending her on my ship with my companions, I'm going to come to your tent and take the sweet-cheeked Briseis. And then you'll know how much better I am than you. And anyone else will think twice about matching themselves to me. Now, the Akos came to Achilles. That's the kind of grief that is related to Achilles' name etymologically. Oh, yeah, sorry. And the heart in his hairy chest was divided two ways, torn in two. Whether or not he should draw the sharp sword from beside his thigh and end the assembly and kill and strip Agamemnon, or whether he should check his rage and stop himself. And so these were the things that he was turning over in his heart and in his mind, and he went to draw the great sword from its scabbard, and then Athena came down from heaven. Now the white-armed goddess Hera had sent her there because she actually loved both men, Agamemnon and Achilles, the same. And so now Athena came and stood behind Achilles and grabbed him by his blonde head. And she appeared only to him. Nobody else could see her. And he turned around and he was astonished, and he recognized Pallas Athena because her two eyes flashed terribly. And he addressed her in winged words and said, "Why, O daughter of Aegis-bearing Zeus, have you come? Is it because you have seen this outrageous behavior of the son of Atreus, Agamemnon? Because let me tell you something, and I think it will be a thing accomplished, that this man acting like this is not long for this world." And the gray-eyed goddess Athena answered him and said, "I have come to stop your rage, if you will listen. The white-armed goddess Hera sent me because she cares about both of you, you and Agamemnon the same. So come, stop your rage, do not draw your sword. You can continue to insult him with words. And I will tell you something, and it will be a thing that happens, that someday the Achaeans will pay you back 3 times as much because of this outrage of the son of Atreus. But now, check your rage. Obey us." That's what she said, and swift-footed Achilles answered her and said, "As pissed off as I am, I must obey your word, goddess, because those men who listen to the gods listen back. It's far better. So he spoke, and she went back to Mount Olympus, where her Aegis-bearing father and all of the other gods have their homes. And Achilles did not stop his rage, but he turned back again with insults to the son of Atreus, Agamemnon. You wine sack with your dog's eyes and your deer's heart. Greedy coward, that's what that means. Not once have you had the courage to arm with your man to go into open battle. Not once have you even had the guts to sit in ambush with the best of the Achaeans. No, in both of these things you see your own death. Far better you think it is to walk back and forth in the army and taking the prize of anyone who will stand up against you. No. You are a king who eats your own people. You rule over nobody. And this will be your last outrage. I will swear something to you. On this scepter, that will never again bear leaf or branch ever since it left behind that stump in the mountains, and someone took the bronze and stripped it of its bark and its leaves, and then it went into the palms of the Achaeans, and it was the ones that were the lawgivers and the ones who guarded the decrees of Zeus. This is my great oath, that someday all of the Achaeans will feel a great longing for Achilles when they fall and die at the hands of manslaughtering Hector, and you will not be able to do anything about it, even though you will chew your heart out that you did no honor to the best of the Achaeans. That's what he said, and he slammed the gold-studded scepter to the ground. And Agamemnon still raged on the other side. But now the clear-voiced orator from Pylos, Nestor, addressed them. Now Nestor spoke gentle words, and his words were so sweet that they flowed sweeter than honey from his tongue. And he had ruled over 3 generations. The generation he grew up with, and their sons, and now over a 3rd. And so with all good intentions, he addressed them. Now, great grief comes upon the land of the Achaeans, and all of Troy and the Trojans must be so happy. Priam and all of his sons, they must be delighted to see the 2 of you fighting like this. You who are supposed to be our best, both in battle and in council. But you 2 are both younger than me. And I used to run with men that were far greater than you, and they took me seriously. Men that were the strongest who have ever come up on this earth. Men like Perithous, and Dryas, the shepherd of the people, and Caeneus Exodius, and Polyphemus, like a god, and Theseus, the son of Aegeus. These were the strongest men ever to come up on this earth. They were the strongest men, and they fought the strongest, the beast men of the mountains, and they defeated them handily. And I was there. I ran with them from Pylos, from a land far away. They had summoned me, and I fought in single combat, and no one living today could fight them. And when I gave them counsel, they listened to me. So now you 2 should listen too. First, Agamemnon, good as you are, do not take this girl. Leave her as she was first given as a prize for Achilles. And Achilles, son of Peleus, you can't match yourself to Agamemnon. Even if you are stronger, it's because your mother is a goddess. Zeus gave him the glory. He rules more people, and Zeus gave him the scepter. And Agamemnon, you still have to let go of your anger towards Achilles, because he is a great bulwark for the Achaeans in the furious fighting. That's what he said. And now wide-ruling Agamemnon answered and said, but he wants to be better than everybody. You know, he just wants to rule people and give them all orders. I don't think I'm going to listen.
Can't say we didn't warn you.
You're going to rule overall? Oh god, I've completely lost myself.
Just start from the beginning.
You should drink the next bottle of whiskey.
The gods! I got myself back. The gods might have made you an awesome spearman, but they did not give it to you to insult me like this. Well, they totally did over there with Athena. She told them you could keep insulting, you know. And now, swift-footed Achilles answered one more time. I would be called a coward and a nobody if I always listened to what you said. You know, I don't want to listen anymore. You give your orders to other people, don't give them to me, and I will tell you this, and you put it in your thoughts, that I will not fight with anyone who comes to my ship and takes the girl, not with you, not with anyone else, because you who gave her now take her away. But if you try to take anything out of my black ship without my permission, against my will, just try it and know this, that your black blood will flow out from my spear point. So the two fought like this with words, and finally the Achaean assembly broke up. And Achilles and all of his companions went back to their well-balanced ships, including Patroclus, the son of Menoetius, and all the Myrmidons. And Agamemnon, he ordered all of the Achaeans to get the black ship ready and put it into the salt sea and place the whole hecatomb on it for the Lord, and get the best rowers, and finally to put the sweet-cheeked girl Briseis on board. And of this expedition he made brilliant, marvelous Odysseus the leader. And meanwhile, Agamemnon ordered all of his own people to take baths. And so they took baths. And they threw off their filth into the salt sea. And they made sacrifices. They sacrificed hundreds of bulls and goats to the Lord, the far-shooter Apollo, all along the shore of the barren sea. And the fatty smoke spiraled up to heaven. But Agamemnon also did not forget the thing that he had first threatened. And he sent for two men, Eurybates and Talthybius. They were heralds and ready servants. And when the two came, he said to them, "You two go to the tent of Achilles and bring back the sweet-cheeked girl Briseis to lead away to me. And tell him this, if he won't give her up, that I will myself will come, and I will bring a bunch of other guys with me, and it will be worse for him." That's what he said, and he was harsh about it. So the two men went, even though they didn't want to, all along the ships of the Achaeans until they came to the ships and the tents of the Myrmidons. And there they found the man himself. Now Achilles was not happy seeing them come. And the two men, they were scared, so they just stood there, and they didn't say anything, and they didn't address him at all. And Achilles understood what was going on, and so he said to them, "Hi, heralds, messengers of God and men, come closer. You are not to blame for this, but only Agamemnon who sent you because of this girl, because of the sweet-cheeked Briseis. So come on, Patroclus, bring her out of the tent and give her to them to take away. But I want you two to be witnesses, you two and the blessed gods, and all mortal men and our cruel king. If ever the need comes again for me to protect the Achaeans from the shameful destruction. I think now that Agamemnon, he is sacrificing something. He does not know how to look forwards and backwards. He cannot even imagine that the men will fight beside his own ship." That's what Achilles said. And Patroclus did not disobey his dear companion, and he went and got Chryseis, the sweet-cheeked girl, and brought her out. And they went away again, all along the ships of the Achaeans, and she went with them, though she did not want to. And Achilles sat apart from all of his companions, and he wept. He sat on the shore of the great sea, and he looked out at the endless water, and he cried over and over again, stretching out his arms. "Mother, why, if I am to be so short-lived, doesn't high thundering Zeus give me just a little bit of glory? Now I have not a little. Agamemnon, the Lord of men, has dishonored me. He has taken my prize, he has robbed me, and he keeps it." And his lady mother heard him in the depths of the ocean, sitting beside her old father. And she came up through the water, and she emerged like mist. And she came and sat beside him when she saw him crying. And she took him by the hand, and she called him by name, and she said, "My son, what grief has come to your mind? Tell it to me, do not keep it hidden, so that we both may know." And swift-footed Achilles groaned and said to her, "You know this. Why do I have to go through it all again? First, we came to Thebe, the holy city of Antioch. We sacked the whole city, and we took all the stuff out of it, and it was divvied up well, and the Achaeans gave to the Lord Agamemnon the sweet-cheeked girl Chryseis. But Chryseis was the daughter of Chryseis, who was the priest of Apollo, and Chryseis came to the ships of the fast ships of the bronze-clad Achaeans, and he was begging for his daughter. And he carried with him countless gifts, and he held in his hand the ribbons of the god, and they were on top of a golden staff. And he asked all of the Achaeans, but especially the two sons of Atreus, because they were the two who put the people in order. And all the other Achaeans shouted out in approval to respect the priest and to accept the gifts. But this was not pleasing to the heart of Agamemnon, and so he sent the old man away again, and he was harsh about it. And the old man went away, and he was angry, and he prayed to the Lord Apollo, and Apollo heard him because the priest was dear to him. So Apollo sent a terrible arrow upon the Argives, and all the men were dying, one after another. The arrows of the god kept falling all along the wide army of the Achaeans. But then a good seer stood up and told us everything that he understood about why the far shooter was his. And I myself urged that we try to appease the god. But then a terrible anger overtook Agamemnon, and he made a bunch of threats that have all now become accomplished, because first he said he was going to send in a swift ship the girl Chryseis back to her father with many gifts for the Lord, and now the latest is that he sent these two heralds to come to my tent and took my sweet cheap girl Chryseis and given to me, and I worked hard for it. So, mother, if you can, protect your son. If ever you have done anything that pleased the heart of Zeus, please go and ask him to help me. I remember remember many times you boasted in the halls of your father that you alone among all of the gods, you alone saved Zeus when they all wanted to tie him up. When it was Poseidon and Hera and Pallas Athena, they had the big plot to tie him up. And you were the one who got the 100-handed monster, and you got whom immortals call Briseis, but whom all mortal men call the son of Agamemnon, even though Agamemnon is not as strong as him. And the 100-handed guy, he went and sat next to the son of Kronos, Zeus, and he scared all the other gods, and then the other gods didn't want to tie him up anymore. So remind him of this. And then ask him if he will do me this favor. If he will help the Trojans and pin the Achaeans up against the bow lines of their ships where they will die, and reap the rewards of their king. And he will recognize his madness, that he paid no honor at all to the best of the Achaeans. That's what he said, pouring tears. And now Thetis answered him, also pouring tears. My son, why did I bear you to such a terrible life? I wish that you could sit beside these ships with no pains, with no tears, but now you are so short-lived it's as if you have no time left at all. You have the shortest life of all men and the most miserable, and I bore you to this horror in my halls. But I will go to snowy Olympus, and I will deliver this message to Zeus, who delights in the thunder, and I will ask him to help and see if he will listen. But you, sit beside your fast-faring ships and rage at the Achaeans and sit out the war completely, because yesterday Zeus and the blameless Ethiopians went to ocean for a feast, but they'll be back on the 12th day, and that's when I will go up to the bronze-built house of Zeus, and I will throw my arms around his knees, and I will ask him, and I think that he will listen. So she left him, sitting there alone, raging over the well-shaped girl who they had robbed from him against his will. And meanwhile, Odysseus, I don't know why it's so hard for me to take off the sweater, but goddamn. Meanwhile, Odysseus, he actually arrived into the city of Chryseis. Same name as the priest, but totally different thing. The ship sailed into the deep harbor. I just sat on beer. And they furled the sails and put them in the black ship. And then they put down the mast by the forestays and put it gently into the mast holder. And they rowed with oars into anchorage. And they threw the mooring stones off, and they tied up the bow lines, and the men themselves finally jumped into the break of the sea. They offloaded the whole hecatomb. And then Chryseis, the priest's daughter herself, disembarked the ship. And wily Odysseus led her to the altar and placed her in the hands of her dear father, and said to him, Chryseis, the lord of men Agamemnon has sent me here to give you back your child, and to try to appease the far-shooter Apollo on behalf of the Danaans, because now he sends so many cares and griefs upon the Argives. That's what he said. And the priest Chryseis took his dear child back into his arms, and he was delighted. And so right away they set up the whole hecatomb around the well-built altar. And they washed their hands in blessed water, and they picked up barley, and the priest Chryseis went among them and prayed, Hear me, far shooter, you silver archer, you who straddle Chryseis, and who rule with strength over Calchas and holy Tenedos. If ever before you heard me, and you did me honor, and you put this terrible grief on the Argives, now hear me again. Now protect the Danaans from this shameful grief. That's what the priest said as he prayed, and Phoebus Apollo heard him. And then they all prayed, and they scattered the barley, and they took the animals' throats and slit all of their throats and skinned them and cut out their thigh bones and wrapped them in fat, making a double fold, and they placed the raw strips of flesh over them. And then the old man placed them on split pieces of wood and poured fiery wine all over them, and the young men stood around him, each holding a 5-pronged fork in their hands, and they roasted the thighs and they tasted the guts, and they took all the little pieces and they roasted those too, and they took them away again. So they worked and they made a feast, and then they feasted, so that every man had satisfaction of his equal share. And then, when their desire for drinking and for eating was extinguished, then the young men took goblets and filled them with unmixed wine and passed them around so everyone could drink. And then the singing began. And they sang all day. The young men of the Achaeans, they sang a beautiful paean to the far-shooter Apollo. They sang, and Phoebus Apollo heard them, and he was delighted in his mind. And then the sun set, and darkness came, and everyone went to sleep beside the bow lines of their ships. And then morning came, along with rosy-fingered dawn, and they set out again for the wide army of the Achaeans. And this time the far-shooter Apollo sent a fair breeze behind them, so that they put up the mast, the sails flew, swelling out with wind in the middle, so that the keel cut through the purple waves, and as the ship went, she roared. She ran along, cutting her path all the way back to the wide army of the Achaeans, and there they dragged the black ship onto shore, up on the sands, and they found the long props and put up the ship, and then they all scattered, each man to his own tent and his own ship. Woo! Another drink and support our patrons here at the Bar du Pain. And please, if you like the story and want to see how it continues, come back again next week. Our director will be Jen Quinn. Thank you very much.